The rain hit the pier like 1,000 tiny drums as Admiral Jacob Rourke stormed toward the hangar, furious, exhausted, and convinced that this day, already terrible, couldn't possibly get worse. But he froze the moment he saw him, a quiet janitor, mop in hand, humming a lullaby to a little girl asleep on his shoulder. The Admiral scoffed, cracking a rare attempt at humor. "Hey, buddy, what's your rank? Custodian first class?" But the janitor didn't laugh. Instead, he looked up with tired eyes that held both pain and power, and spoke two words Rourke never expected to hear in his life. Two words that made his stomach drop and his knees almost buckle. "Major General." And in that moment, everything the Admiral believed about the people around him, about humility, about sacrifice, began to unravel. This is the story of how a joke exposed a secret that changed the entire base forever. The Navy SEAL training facility felt different that week. Tense, loud, full of pressure and noise, yet in the middle of all of it stood a man no one noticed. Daniel Hayes swept hallways, emptied trash cans, and kept to himself. His uniform wasn't tactical gear or command blues but a faded gray jumpsuit with a name tag barely hanging on. Most recruits ignored him, some joked with him, others treated him like part of the background. But Daniel didn't complain. He arrived early, stayed late, kept his head down, and left quickly every afternoon so he could reach the daycare before it closed for his daughter, Lily. Daniel's life had not always been this small. There had been medals once, titles, salutes, a life where his decisions altered entire missions. But after the accident, after losing his wife, losing his direction, and nearly losing himself, he walked away from everything except Lily. He needed a quiet life, a predictable routine, something that allowed him to heal even as it broke him. So he took the janitor job, telling himself it was temporary. Yet 2 years passed and temporary became survival. Still, he couldn't escape who he really was. The way he walked, the way he scanned rooms, the way he reacted when alarms sounded, recruits whispered about the strange janitor who moved like he'd lived 3 lifetimes. Rumors spread, ex-cop, ex-mercenary, former SEAL dropout. Daniel ignored them all. He just wanted peace. Admiral Rourke, however, had no peace. A special operations review was weeks away, and everything was falling apart. Equipment failures. Training mistakes. Morale problems. On top of that, Washington wanted him to prove his teams were ready. Rourke carried the weight alone, and sometimes, when pressure cracked him, he snapped at whoever was around. On the stormy afternoon everything changed. Daniel wasn't even supposed to be in the hangar. He was covering for another custodian, carrying Lily because daycare had called early. She'd been frightened by thunder. She clung to him, tiny arms tight around his neck. He whispered soft reassurances as he mopped the floor. Then the door slammed open. Rourke marched in, soaked, furious, yelling orders at officers scrambling behind him. When his eyes landed on Daniel and the sleeping child, he stopped. The contrast, chaos everywhere, and this man standing calm as a still river, irked him. "You!" Rourke barked. "What's your rank?" It was a joke. A stupid, tired attempt at humor from a man stretched too thin. The officers chuckled awkwardly. Daniel looked up slowly. He could have ignored it. He could have played along. But something inside him, maybe the exhaustion, maybe the memory of years staying silent, refused to bend anymore. "Major General," he said quietly. Silence hit the hangar like an explosion. Rourke froze mid-step. One officer dropped his clipboard. Another whispered under his breath. Daniel didn't smile. Didn't blink. Didn't look like a man joking. Rourke felt his spine chill. Only one major general in Daniel's age range had ever served in high-level Joint Operations Command, and he had vanished from military records 3 years ago after a mysterious classified incident. And now he was mopping the floor with a child in his arms. Rourke felt fear, not of Daniel, but of the truth he suddenly suspected. Who are you?" he whispered. Daniel took a long breath. "Someone trying to stay forgotten." And with that, Chapter 1 of their collision began. Rourke couldn't shake the encounter. He spent the night digging through old files, and what he found made his blood run cold. Major General Daniel Hayes, one of the youngest to ever hold the rank, had been a strategic genius, leading Black Op rescue missions, negotiating high-risk international extractions, and commanding multi-branch operations with impossible success rates. Then he vanished after a classified mission that had saved thousands but cost him everything. The next morning, Rourke went looking for him. He found Daniel pushing a cleaning cart outside the mess hall, wearing the same gray jumpsuit, Lily in a stroller beside him eating crackers. No security. No escort. No protection. Just a ghost walking through a world that no longer recognized him. Rourke approached slowly. "General Hayes, why are you here?" Daniel sighed, eyes tired. "Please don't call me that. I left that life behind." Rourke shook his head. "You don't get to walk away. Not after what you've done for this country." Daniel clenched the handle of the cart. "Sir, with respect, I buried my wife because of that country. I nearly lost my daughter too. I gave everything. Now all I want is to give her a quiet life." Rourke understood pain more than he admitted. He was divorced, childless, and had long sacrificed every piece of himself for duty. Hearing Daniel speak felt like looking into a mirror showing a different path, one where he had walked away before losing everything. But Rourke also knew danger. And Daniel was in it. That same week, whispers spread across the base that an unknown but powerful foreign organization was looking for a former U.S. commander who had disappeared. Rourke feared that Daniel's presence, here, exposed, vulnerable, put everyone at risk. By the third day, the threat became real. A drone breach. A suspicious vehicle spotted by perimeter guards. Rourke's instincts screamed that Daniel's past had come knocking. He confronted Daniel in the supply dock. "You need protection. If they're coming for you, they'll come here." Daniel shook his head. "I won't run anymore. I won't uproot Lily again. We face this." "But you're alone," Rourke said. Daniel looked at him for a long, quiet second. Then he spoke a sentence that changed everything. "No. I have you." For the first time, Rourke felt the weight of those words. He wasn't just protecting a man. He was protecting a soldier who had given more than anyone alive. A father who would die for his child. A leader whose silence hid mountains of sacrifice. What followed over the next nights forged an unexpected brotherhood, Rourke using his active command power, Daniel using his brilliance and strategy from the shadows. Together, they prepared the base for what was coming. And when the threat finally hit, silent, fast, and deadly, it was Daniel, the quiet janitor with a broken past, who stepped forward and saved them all. By the end, Rourke didn't just respect him, he needed him. And Daniel, for the first time in years, realized he wasn't meant to stay hidden forever. Their journey, filled with fear, redemption, brotherhood, and the rise of a forgotten legend, was only beginning.